the meeting to order. 7:02 p.m. I invite everybody to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, welcome back. I hope everybody had a nice extended summer. We met earlier in June than normal, so I feel like it's been quite a while since we've seen one another. So great to be back. We've got a pretty busy agenda, so we'll dive right into it. I do want to make a quick note. We're going to move staff reports unless there's any objection. Mr. Lucas has had to take a global call for a program that he's working on for the district, and that coincided with the first half of this meeting. So there are some items that I think we'll probably have questions for him on. So if anybody disagrees, please say so. Otherwise, we're going to move staff reports, and then we'll just flow with the rest of the agenda. And then when Mike comes back, we'll revert back. Okay? All right. We have a new student representative joining us tonight.
Hi.
Leah, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Doing well. It is general practice that we do a quick intro around the table. You'll never remember all the names, but at least you'll hear them for the first time, and hopefully many more times to come. And then we'll invite you, before we get to your update, to give us an introduction to yourself. So Mike Valenzola, the Wales representative and chairman of the school committee.
I'm Deb Boyd, the associate superintendent.
Back off here, I'm taking minutes.
Sheila Noyes-Miller, Brimfield.
Bill Haggerty, Sturbridge, Vice Chair of the committee.
Christine Randall, Wales.
Dan Valcourt, Brimfield.
Meg Cunningham, Brookfield.
Marcy, principal of Tantasqua.
Greg Sturridge, principal of the junior high.
Pamela Fitzgerald. Jennifer Custin, Brookfield. Mary Velez, Sturbridge. Kristen Leo, Sturbridge.
Pat Barnacle, Sturbridge.
Jody Barassa, assistant superintendent. Welcome.
Welcome. It's great to have you. Oh, and yeah, well, Max, say hello to everybody.
Hi, Max.
All right, we'll move to approval of minutes. I'll entertain a motion to approve the June 4th, 2019 regular session minutes as submitted.
So moved.
Motion's been made. Do we have a second?
Second.
Made and seconded. Is there any discussion?
There's a correction on page 2, under about halfway down under tech, Mark Wood. The house is being built in Brimfield, not Bristol.
It's under motion 19115.
Right, under tech module.
Edit Fiskdale for Brimfield. Are there any other edits? Seeing none, the chair will call for a vote. All those in favor of the motion to approve the minutes for June 4th as amended will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Abstentions for the record. Motion carries. All right, we'll move to the financial report. Chair will recognize the associate superintendent.
Okay, you have the year end for fiscal 19. We're still busy setting everything up for 20. By the time I come back next month, we will have a number of transfers to make as we were negotiating last year when we built the budget. But 19, I've pretty much summarized here and laid out the areas from a revenue point of view that we took in more. I think we talked throughout the year on how the vocational tuitions we fully anticipated were going to come in high, because by the time we found out we finally had a higher state determined tuition, we were beyond budget time. But that certainly came into play when we were talking about what we were going to do about the project, the window and door project, and gave us the comfort level to vote. So while we have that surplus going toward E&D, just a reminder that you all voted to spend $600,000 of E&D toward the project. So we pretty much ended exactly where we wanted to end. We're in good shape to take care of what we committed to for that project, and then be starting off in pretty good shape. And then I summarized the activity in your school choice down there, which we also voted about $100,000 more of school choice towards the project, in addition to what we already have done for the design services and the OPM.
Any questions for Deb on the financial report? All right. We will move past staff reports, as I indicated. We'll come back to that. We'll move to committee reports. We only have two committee reports. It will be our student report, and then we've got bylaw and policy. And then, of course, later in the agenda, you'll see that we'll be breaking into quick caucuses to reorganize our subcommittees and elect amongst our subcommittees chairs for each of those respective subcommittees. So at this point, Leah, why don't you go first, since you're the newbie, and then we'll turn it over to the veteran.
So in August, the Executive Board of Student Council bonded. We went to bowling. We kind of met to know each other a little bit more, and we planned out a lot of goals for this year. We had our school setup meeting. We had about 100 members show up. We made teas. We cut them out of like construction paper, and we put every student and every faculty member on a tee, and we hung them up. We chalked the walk. Basically, we just chalked like the walkways, and we used window markers to write like encouraging things on the windows, just to like make the atmosphere really good for the first day. We also had new student orientation, which was very successful. We got really great feedback this year. We wore yellow shirts that day, so the first day of school, and pretty much for the first week of school, we wore yellow ribbons on our backpacks for any freshmen that needed any help getting into classes or had any questions about anything, just because there were a lot of kids that were still hesitant about what was going on. We had the senior sunrise at 5:45 at the school on the first day. There were yard games, music. We did a countdown to when the sunrise was supposed to go at 6:08. And we are discussing having a possible senior sunset and barbecue towards the end of the year, so that we started the school year off all together and we ended it all together as well. And we had our first official meeting, and we did a lot of goal setting. We watched a motivational video. We've picked our spirit days for homecoming, and we did a lot of committee signups. And next Friday, the junior high is doing High Five Fridays, and high school student council is gonna come over, and we're gonna stand outside the school, high five everybody, before school starts. We're anticipating about at least 30 people. We think it's gonna be closer to like 45, because a lot of kids really wanna do it. We're gonna do signups next Tuesday at our next meeting. And in October, the executive board is going to Officer Shop at Holy Cross, and that's just like a conference for the executive boards all over Massachusetts. And we have Powder Puff in November. We haven't picked a specific date, I don't think, but it's gonna be towards the beginning. And finally, we got recognized by Special Olympics Massachusetts. They're recognizing us for the 2018-2019 year being a unified champion school. They're thanking us for like our commitment to be inclusive, which is what we're all about. And they say we have a really inclusive school climate, and we kind of like submitted to get into this. It was our first time this year, and we got in, and they recognized that. We attend a lot of Special Olympics events, and we're planning on making more events with our Pathways program over at the high school. We're thinking about doing bowling or something fun for them, whatever they want to do. And yeah, that's kind of where we're at right now.
All right.
Yeah.
Sounds
A
like
lot going on for the first few weeks of
ambitious
school.
agenda.
That's great. All right, Eileen.
So this past weekend, a group of health career students attended the Walk-In Alzheimer's event. Every year, Health Careers has a team. This year, our team was able to raise $1,575. The money raised will go towards Alzheimer's research and care for those with Alzheimer's disease, support groups, and educational programs. The main event was in Worcester next to the Hanover Insurance Group building. And at 10 a.m., the ceremony started. And in the ceremony, they talked about what Alzheimer's is, how much this event has raised, and what each different color flower pinwheel represents. When you arrive at the event, you will get a flower pinwheel that you can write on the petals. Blue flowers are for those with Alzheimer's or dementia. Purple meant that the walker has lost someone to Alzheimer's. Yellow represented a caregiver. Orange flowers were given to supporters. The event ends with a goal to one day have a white flower, which represents a person who has been cured of Alzheimer's. After the ceremony at around 10:30 a.m. starts the 3 0.3-mile walk through the residential areas in Worcester. It was very hot the day, but we made it through. When we get back to the event area, there's some free food that has been donated to the event. And if any of you would like to donate, the page is still open. Just go to the Walk to End Alzheimer's page and search for the team called Tantasqua Health Careers Walking Warriors. Another thing that the health career students have been working hard on is training the community on hands-only CPR. We have already done an event at the Spencer Fair, and this weekend we are setting up a booth Saturday and Sunday at the Brookfield Apple Orchard to try and teach as many people as we can and get their signatures. In the classroom, the seniors have been working very hard on reviewing all the skills we need to know so that we are ready to go to the clinical next Wednesday. We will start the clinical rotation at the Meadows Long-Term Care Facility in Leicester.
Great updates. Questions from the school committee for our student reps? Student reps, anything you'd like to bring to our attention?
I think student council overall, we're doing really great.
How are we doing? Should we be doing anything differently?
No, I think everything is going smoothly so far.
How about your principals? How are they doing?
They really are.
Awesome. Great updates. Thank you both. All right, we'll move to bylaw and policy. Mr. Haggerty.
That comes as a pleasant surprise. Or an unpleasant surprise, as it may be.
You want to run through them, Bill, or do you would like me to?
Would you like to run through this? Since I was not anticipating this.
Off guard.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. for reminding me
I
to-
got a good night's sleep. I'm on my A game.
I think maybe I'll go through and explain on each one, and folks can decide if they want to vote as a package or deal with them individually. Does that make sense? As I look.
Is it just the new business is the update?
Yeah, oh, yes.
Well, we can hold on that.
Either way, and see if Michelle gets
That's
it.
just the update. Yeah, we'll wait.
Yep.
until Michelle
And we
comes.
meet again on
Yeah.
Thursday.
Okay, fair.
Thank you, Mr. Valenzuela.
Thank you, Mr. Haggerty. We will move to public access one. Is there anybody in the audience tonight that would like to address the school committee? No? All right, just here for the show.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. Open?
Are you looking to address the committee?
I just wanted to stop and introduce myself and come to a meeting. My name's Adam Pop. I teach culinary arts at the high school. I'm also the new union president for the TEA. And I was told that this was a fun time, so I figured I didn't want to miss the show. So thank you very much.
Well, if your predecessor told you that, they were setting you up.
There's probably a kick me sign on my back.
Well, congratulations on the new role and welcome. Look forward to working with you.
Does that mean we will have more delicacies to?
Particularly during negotiation meetings, I'm thinking.
There will be food in negotiation years from now on.
Great. Well, welcome. All right, we will move to communications. There's a couple of items under communications. We've got the bullying data compares, as well as the MASC bulletin. Are there any questions on either? Erin, anything you wanted to hit on?
Just
that?
MASC bulletin, just a reminder in that lower front page, it's reminding you about the MASC-MASS joint conference that first week of November. We're, as always, happy to register you. You just need to send Brenda McCann and myself an email for what the sessions are, and she'll likely follow back up with you regarding meals or things like that. So I know we have registered a few folks who let us know they were interested in the summer, but they will truly take registration up till, that last week of October. So
That day.
yeah, that's it.
Do we have a large number of registrants this year?
I think right now we have 3 or 4. But
Pat, Bill, me?
probably we always have someone from Wales. It's really hard for folks, obviously, with work schedules to try and.
But it also,
Right, they do
we've
it.
had members in the past that have come for a day or
Right.
a portion of the day. That's always an option. And you can look on the website. It's a pretty interactive agenda, it'll get better as we get closer to the
Usually
dates, but,
Saturday morning is the new
Focus
members,
experience.
yeah,
Yep.
new committee member orientation.
right. And you'll get credit for your, first year requirement, so, okay. Great. All right, Mr. Lucas, welcome back.
Thank you.
We will move back up from communications to staff reports. We'll first let the principals give us a quick report, and then we've got a number of items to action per their request. So I'll defer to each of you to give your report, and if you want to move right into your asks, we can do it that way.
That'd be great.
So go ahead,
Thank you.
Mike.
Happy to take any questions on a report. I've got several asks. One of them is a proposal for a field trip to New York City for a day. We did this last year with our drama club students. It was very successful. We're asking to do that same trip again this year. For students, we will have fundraising opportunities available to help reduce costs. It's a day trip to Broadway.
Mr. Haggerty? I move that we approve the trip to Broadway and exempt the staff for the conflict of interest. Is it conflict of interest?
Exempt them from the conflict of
Yeah.
interest law, just in the off chance that their costs are being covered, yeah. All right, so we've got a motion to approve the trip and exempt from conflict of interest. It's been made by Mr. Haggerty, seconded by Ms. Cunningham. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, the chair will call for a vote. All those in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Abstentions? Motion carries.
Okay, thank you. The second request for a field trip is a special one over February vacation, which is included in your packet also, for our show choir to go compete in the Midwest and see some museums and have a new experience. They've already started with some good ideas for fundraising. This would be the end of February vacation. They would miss Monday traveling back. The coach buses can only travel 10 hours per day by law. They would see the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland. Trip put together by our show choir instructors from the music department. It's a 5-day itinerary, leaving Tantasqua on Thursday, returning on Monday. It's all in there. So, something that show choir kids would love to do. It's out of state, so.
First up, let's get a motion and then we'll ask questions. Entertain a motion to approve the Keynote Classic trip as presented and exempt any faculty or staff from the conflict of interest law. Made by Ms. Randall, seconded by Mrs. Barnacle. Jen, did you have a question?
Yeah, I did. I just
Go ahead.
wanted to know, do you apply for grants for all these trips and stuff like that?
We
by
don't
any chance?
usually, no, but we try to do different fundraisers. I haven't really heard of any grants for field trips, but if you have any in mind, I'd be happy to look at them.
Well,
Be great.
every town has a cultural council.
Yeah.
And the cultural councils, will grant out money
Yeah.
for a field trip if
Yeah.
it goes, I just didn't know,
The
some of the
local
students from
grants.
Broomfield could go to Broomfield, Sturbridge can go to Sturbridge.
Yeah, we've
And they grant out.
received some of those for other things, but
Yeah.
not necessarily for field trips, but yeah.
They
yeah,
have a field
been
trip
great.
option in there also.
Okay.
I
That's-
just was wondering.
No, that's good to know.
Obviously, you can do-
That's good to know. That's great.
Just wondered.
Yeah, I never thought of the cultural council.
Yeah. Yeah, they've
Especially
awarded,
with
they've
chorus
awarded us other
and
grants for
stuff.
projects and stuff,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, that's great. Thank you, good idea.
That's a
Yeah.
good point. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Mrs. Barnacle just made the point that sometimes some of the cultural council funds aren't even dispersed.
Yeah.
Because there's not enough enough applications to actually use the funds.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Further discussion?
Is it decided like where you wanna go in the Midwest?
Yes, it's all in the, it's all in Tangi High School,
Okay.
in, it's right outside Columbus, Ohio. That's where it would be.
Lewis Center, Ohio.
Yes.
And technically for those grants, they're supposed to disperse all that money each year. So if all those, if they
Yeah.
get, you know,
Paul Metcalf received several, he was our former visual arts director. He got several new projects with the kids, it was wonderful. And it was the same thing, like you said, they were trying to give away money and they had nobody even apply.
yeah, and I know, I think, one
Yeah.
pottery gentleman comes to the
Yeah,
high school, he's applied for a grant, he
Yeah.
does, a show every year
Yeah.
for those.
yeah,
kids
no, that's
over there,
great.
yeah.
Can you apply year round, do you know?
Every year.
Oh, you
By
can?
October 15th.
Okay, okay.
Mike, is this the first
But it's
time
not-
that they've competed out of state?
It's not a.
I believe it is, Mrs. Boyd, our show choir expert, would have a better idea. I think it is. Well, no, we go to Connecticut.
Exactly,
So,
exactly.
that's out of
There's one in
state.
the New
That's only an
England
hour
circuit
away.
That's in Connecticut that.
Okay, further discussion on this motion? Seeing none, the chair will call for a vote. All those in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Abstentions? Motion carries.
Thank you. Is it okay if I do our obsolete video equipment? We're requesting the authorization for obsolete video equipment to be discarded. Mr. Thierry, who's our media teacher, put together a list of a lot of items that are no longer viable for us to use or fix or repair. We would reach out and see if anybody wants them, to take them. I'm not sure that we'll get any takers.
Assuming that there are no Johnny Tremaine videos, I would move that we declare the equipment obsolete.
We've got a motion to move to declare the items as listed obsolete. Is there a second? Motion's been made by Mr. Haggerty, seconded by Ms. Leo. Is there any discussion? Mike, I would just check with the local cable commissions.
Yep.
I know Wales and Brimfield both recently set up some new studios.
Okay.
I know they have budgets, and some of that comes out of the PEG account through the local subscribers, but it might be worth
Sure. Steve's happy to reach out to those groups.
connecting with the
Yeah.
executive secretaries and making them aware.
Okay, great. We'll do.
How are these
Come
whatever,
up with that one.
how are these disposed of?
Some of it's gonna have to be moved out probably by professional movers. Some of it's very bulky. Some of it our own guys can do. But we're hoping some folks will take some of it and then we'll have to deal with the rest. So,
A teleprompter would be a nice touch for people's rec rooms or something.
Hey, you know.
I mean, what the heck?
Congratulations. Steve.
Some of the stuff is also disposed.
Careful, Haggerty. Ms. Peleza, did you have a question?
I did. Towards the end of the list, there's one item that says it most likely still has value.
yes.
Are we gonna try and sell that?
Yes, that's the one that Steve thinks somebody will want.
Okay,
yeah.
so we're still getting.
So that's part of what we're gonna send out to folks. So we think somebody would use it.
Further discussion? All those in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Abstentions? Motion carries.
All right, thank you. And I just have one more. We are requesting the authorization for the old athletic uniforms that are no longer used to be given away or sold to the community, if possible. We're trying to clear out our attic, clear out the clutter.
So move.
Motion's been made. Is there a second? Made by Mr. Haggerty, seconded by Dr. Waters. Discussion? You actually can sell them?
We think if we put, the Booster Club's gonna help us out, if we put racks of it out at football games and say everything's $1.
So like people want to buy their old lumber?
Yeah. We have a ton of junior high and elementary kids that show up at those games. They might, I think they might wanna buy them.
Actually.
And mind you, they're generally worn. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Some of them are in pretty good shape.
The nozzles have been worn for years and years and years.
At some point, they'll come back in fashion, but, you know.
They've been washed. They've been washed.
Okay. Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Abstentions? Ayes have it, motion carries.
Thank you. Otherwise, we're off to a great start at the high school so far.
Thank you, Mr. Lucas.
Thank you.
Mr. Sturgis.
All right. So we seem to be off to an awesome start at the junior high this year. One thing I wanted to take note of the summertime was the ceiling tile extravaganza. Just a few names to point out. Carol Willard, our art teacher, put in a ton of time and effort to coordinate that event to make sure that there was a lot of community interest in those ceiling tiles. And I was very happy in the end to know that they weren't just all thrown out. They were offered up. There's given a ton of opportunity to collect them. We had over 250 of them go. How many people came in? A couple people came and took more than 20 at a time to finish out a basement with them. And there's a couple of students, former students, Tantasqua grads, and Evan Jensen kind of coordinated the whole thing between these two other students. They're in Lindsay Gravel and Ryan Burke. They actually came in on that Monday before we opened it to the community and took pictures of every single ceiling tile that we now have on a flash drive. It's almost like a video yearbook of all the tiles before they were thrown away or given away. So every tile, minus the ones that are still hanging, and they are making it a point to make that part of the archive as well. They just haven't gotten to that yet because it was awesome. See, it took 4 or 5 hours on a Monday morning in July, just walking around the tennis courts outside taking pictures. So it's great of them. It was amazing to see. Mrs. Wilder will tell you as well how many people really cared about the history of the school that was told through those tiles. People who came back almost 40 years ago, did their tile, and were excited to find it there. So it was great to see. Then moving on to August, we had open house with the incoming 7th graders and any new 8th graders to the district. That, as my first summer, was heavily attended. It was really nice to see, heavily attended by staff as well. A lot of people there to practice their lockers, see the building, see their teachers who were here that day, which was most. And it was a good icebreaker for the kids coming in brand new, especially from the elementary schools where lockers, transitioning, going from 7 classes seems like a bear. They get at least in the door ahead of time to see it. And then we jumped in, and the year's off and running. Fall sports already into a week of games. This is actually the 2nd week of games. We had over 150 kids try out for our fall sports. We had more than 50 boys try out for the soccer team. Over 30 girls tried out for soccer. We have over close to 50 kids in total on the cross-country team, 26 boys and a little more than around 21, 22 girls. The number keeps going up because some kids have joined late. We did allow some kids who didn't make other teams to jump on the cross-country, so they were able to participate in the fall sport. And then field hockey, we had over 30 girls try out, which was great to see. And if you notice, the ropes are down around the front field, and it was cool the other day that we had a home game, and it was literally just right out front. And the girls have their own field to practice on. They're not waiting for the high school, finding a spot in the outfield of the baseball field. They have their own field, their own area, and it's good to see. They got new uniforms this year, and as well so that our cross-country runners were able to get uniforms for the first time that are all the same color, at least. So things are off and running very well. Our clubs and after-school activities started this week for the most part, and the ones that did not will be starting off next week. So if you haven't seen it, the menu of activities we offer in junior high is incredible. And I love to see every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at 3:15 late buses. It feels like there's just as many kids leaving then as there are at 2 o'clock. So it's great to see how many kids participate. And then on my declare obsolete list, I'm requesting of you guys we have a spotlight on the stage for the drama club that has been there for, it still is functional, but it's been there for years, hasn't been touched in 3 to 4 years. And there's been plenty of upgrades over time, and it's just equipment that sits there. So I'm requesting to declare it obsolete. It's been also requested for a place to donate it to, a local Actors Guild in Southbridge, where some of our students participate in, and our drama club director is affiliated with outside of school time. So they can certainly use the equipment that we don't use.
Mr. Hagerty.
So moved.
Motion's been made. Is there a second? I heard Mrs. Barnacle. I think there were a few others, but made by Mr. Hagerty, second by Mrs. Barnacle. Further discussion? All those in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Abstentions? Ayes have it. If there's no objection, I'd like to send a letter to Mrs. Willard from the school committee, thanking her for all of her support on that effort. Great.
Thank you very much.
All right, Mrs. Barnacle.
How did back to school night go?
I'll be honest with you, we had a number of parents stop in the office on the way out to compliment the evening.
Yeah.
And people don't usually go out of their way on open house
Yeah.
nights to compliment. Being able to follow their kid's schedule for a short 10-minute window, meet all their teachers,
Right.
get a nice quick information session from what the expectations are and be able to move to the next one. Parents seem to really appreciate it. It's very heavily attended. And if anyone had noticed that or remembers, Right at 5:30, when parents were probably heading here, we had giant lightning and
Yeah.
tornado warnings out, I think, in the Brimfield area, and people still came. So it's a testament to how
Yeah.
involved people are in this building, and it's great to see that they still come out full force.
Other questions for Mr. Sturgis?
Just about the back to school night.
Yep.
So, yes, us parents really liked it, and the teachers were more like, this is exhausting, can we try something different next year, so they might.
Okay.
That's
I'm open to ideas from all sides.
Okay, Mr. Wood?
Well, I'm going to highlight a couple things in the report. One is we have almost all of the equipment in the grant, but I want to focus more on, rather than the grant or the equipment, the kids. Because the kids in CAD are like, they literally are kids in a candy store. The MakerBot came in and it came with software that was separate from the package, and he said, can I do this? And I said, sure, just don't open the box. And he came back and he opened the box and he said, I needed to open the box to register it. So I went down later and he's got the whole thing set up and he's on a third thing he's printing. And there were 4 kids standing next to each other comparing the old 3D printer to this little 3D printer and the technology and how it's better. And he says, Mr. Wood, you know what's really cool? I can actually program this from my computer in the lab. I don't even have to be here. And now every day he wants to know if he can open up the big 3D printer, which is the $108,000 one, which I say, no, you cannot upgrade that one, do not touch it. He said, well, I have a hand jack on it, so it's ready to roll when we're ready to go. But that's what's the cool thing about what we do in schools, and I'm going to tell you, especially the tech side, because it's a lot of hands-on, the kids are just excited about it. And I want to highlight under the report, under IT, Mrs. Espinosa is a first year, finishing her first year teacher as an IT teacher. She's amazing. 6 of her kids went to or medaled at districts last year. 1 went to nationals. That's amazing for a first year teacher to really excite kids that much and be able to in 1 year get kids to that level. She ran a program by me, and because she was in during the summer, she said, on Fridays I'd like to have my seniors come in and work kind of like interns. I said, well, you can go for it, Gail. I don't know how many kids are going to go. Every Friday, 5 kids came for hours, and they basically took care of all the IT needs on the tech side and actually helped, as you see here with the desk with Mr. Wachanthera, getting computers ready. So I think if you can really get kids excited about what they're doing, to give up Fridays during the summer, I think that's an amazing thing about what we can accomplish at Tantasqua, to get our kids excited.
Great. Questions for Mr. Wood? Thank you, gentlemen. All right, we'll move to our superintendent's report.
Okay, thank you. So a number of updates here. Thanks also, the principal said it to everyone for a great opening. Week 3, I'm thinking, 2, 3, or 4. After the first week it all rolls. It does indeed. So a great opening, thanks to everyone and all their hard work, as well as all the work that goes into the summer to keep the buildings technologically updated, as well as cleaning, moving furniture, getting ready for the next year. So very appreciative of everyone's help for that. The first item here under the report, the Attorney General's Office offered a grant opportunity, and we were fortunate enough to receive it. This grant will focus on violence prevention and mental health, and it is a grant that was open to Tantasqua. It was really a 7 through 12 focus. The 4 components, just real briefly of that, are some programmatic and then one related to a club that we will be starting. One of the evidence-based programs is called Start with Hello. It's a prevention program that trains and empowers middle and high school students on how to recognize social isolation within their classroom and school, trains them on how to reach out and help. The second evidence-based program we will be training our students in is called Say Something, and it empowers middle and high school students and trains them on how to look for and recognize warning signs and threats, especially on social media, and what to do should there be such a threat or warning sign identified. The third component we actually already do at our high school, and that's an evidence-based youth suicide prevention program called Signs of Suicide. The high school has done this for many years, but we will actually be bringing it down in the training to our middle school students and staff for this year. And then the final commitment is related to starting what's called a Save Promise Club, which is a student leadership club which will lead school-based activities and sustain anti-violence programming after the training. So this is through the Mass Attorney General's office in conjunction with the Sandy Hook Promise organization. So we were very fortunate to receive this grant. It's really great training, and again, we're thankful for that opportunity. A reminder that our joint retreat will be October 19th. I don't know if you want to speak to it at all, Mr. Valenzola, or still kind of working on a tentative schedule. I think we've discussed 8:30 to 2:30 as the rough timeline and the host.
Yep, so the tentative timeline will be an 8:30 meet and greet. I think as we indicated in June, we're bringing in an external facilitator.
Tony.
I was going to say Tony Robbins. I don't know.
Tony Robbins is not.
This is coming out of Wood's budget, so tell that kid the printer's going back. So Tony Bent will be facilitating. We've got really, we're thinking of breaking this into kind of 3 sections. Megan and I are actually going to be connecting on this after the meeting, so we'll have a better and more clear plan in the coming weeks. But really, focused on leadership, working as a team, the possibilities that can come out of a school committee, if structured in a certain way. A review of the agenda with some icebreakers, really intended to, again, not only get us to know each other better, but our colleagues at the union level. Which will then translate into a school committee discussion, again, really around what makes a team effective, what makes a school committee effective, how can we be better public advocates, both on behalf of the people we represent and on behalf of the students that we're responsible for effectively setting our policy and setting a budget to produce an educational experience for. We'll then break, we'll move into kind of those big 3, right? The role of the school committee and more clearly understanding our responsibilities around hiring and reviewing a superintendent, setting policy, establishing a budget, and then transition into really thinking about the future. One of the things that I was thinking about, and Erin and I were talking about this earlier, and I'd be interested actually in feedback from folks. The thinking about the future is really intended to be an opportunity for us to talk about the skills that we expect our Tantasqua graduates to possess when they receive that diploma, and also our mission, our vision, our core values as a district. Part of what I was thinking about is it might be a great opportunity for us to invite some members of the staff, the faculty, the administration, beyond the folks that we interact with and deal with on a monthly and daily basis for some of us, into that part of the discussion, because I think it's something that is really bigger than just us, and I think we ought to get the perspective of folks beyond just those that sit at this table. We could do that in 1 of 2 ways. We could do it as a part of this day and invite some folks in to join us that are teachers and administrators and staff members at the school, or we can keep this focused to the school committee and maybe have a subsequent wider conversation. I thought it might be nice and more inclusive to do it as a part of that day, but I'm just interested in the feedback of the committee as we set the agenda. Yeah.
I think that's a really good idea. Maybe department chairs, or maybe just interested parties, or whatever, however you want to put it out.
Yeah.
But it sort of reminds me of negotiations now, and the way they go, and so it would give, I think, the school committee a feeling of working in partnership with the faculty. So.
I mean, you think about some of the things that we hear through the interest-based bargaining that in some pockets is eye-opening, but also a great opportunity to have dialogue about a certain topic we wouldn't have had the chance to otherwise. This is, an opportunity to have similar discussions, but not necessarily attached to a contract.
Right,
With that
yeah,
kind of being the
yeah.
overarching topic. Is there anyone that objects to that concept? Okay, so.
I don't literally object to the concept, but I'm thinking of being organized and prepared prior to putting the whole thing together, is what I would think. Like knowing where you're gonna go with it once you bring all these facilitators in would be a start, like discussing it first, and then, like you said, the secondary side, but get the whole situation together first, and then be prepared what you're doing, and then you go off to the groups. But that's just a thought that I would have, but I mean, obviously.
Okay, well, that's good feedback.
Actually, I think you make a good point. I think one of the things that we talked a little bit about bylaw policy is, getting our committee fully involved. And while I think the idea is excellent, and I'm always one for inclusivity, I wonder if we're at that point where we need to focus on ourselves first, where we're headed, or think we have a concept of where we're headed, maybe what you're describing in terms of planning, and then maybe do a follow-up with them, which might be a lot more beneficial once we sort of hash things out in our own heads in terms of where we think we might want to
Isn't
go.
that how the day is organized?
Pardon me?
Isn't that how the day is actually organized?
Yeah.
So that we have all morning.
Right.
And then if we were to invite anyone else, it would be in the afternoon.
It would just be for that third session.
Yeah, yeah.
That was my thinking. And I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
I totally do. I think we're bringing in an external facilitator to help steer the discussion, and it's really intended to be an open forum and an incubation opportunity, where we're throwing ideas out and we're having open-ended dialogue and conversation. For me, I'm not the boots on the ground on a daily basis in these schools, and there are other people that are. And so I think there's value in having that be a part of the larger discussion. But if folks would feel more comfortable having that be a secondary part of it, then that could be a way to approach it too. I just, we'll have obviously our administration there, so that's, I'll be candid. I've heard things, no disrespect, through the negotiations directly from the horse's mouth of teachers and staff members many times that I never heard before. And, that's just, I think, a result of going right at the source. So, if we're having a larger conversation on what our expectations are of graduates, what our vision, our mission, our goals and objectives should be for the district, I think we obviously have a very important role in that, but I think the feedback is critical from those that are living it daily. Okay, good feedback. We'll think about it. We'll come up with a plan.
By the way, I'm not sure if we told everyone it's gonna be at the host.
That's at the host. Yeah, we'll have signage. We don't know where, but
Yeah.
it'll be at the host.
And once the agenda gets solidified, we will send out an email looking for a formal RSVP, because we will have to plan for food, for breakfast and lunch, so.
Great.
Okay, great, thank you.
Great.
Just wanted to update folks, when we last met, we were awaiting the Mass School Building Authority final vote on our project, and it did indeed move forward. So we've been meeting a little bit over the summer as we go. Had to actually submit 60% completion documents. Much of that is around design and evaluation of the current situation, and then putting the bid specs together. I think there is a bid walkthrough. I think it's the 24th, Deb, is that right?
Yes.
For vendors who might be interested. But we're moving forward and very excited about that project next week. So we sent the Southern Worcester County and Collaborative third quarter report, May or June it did come, and we sent it electronically as requested. I do need to ask, have Mr. Valenzola ask, that you all appoint me as a board member to the Southern Worcester County Ed Collaborative, and that is an action item.
We'll entertain a
Okay.
motion.
So moved.
Motion's been made.
Seconded.
Made and seconded. By Mrs. Noismiller, not Mrs. Harrington, and Mr. Haggerty seconded. All those in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
Thank you. And then in your packet, I did include a letter from the Executive Office of Public Safety and Security. We did apply last, I think, late winter, early spring. It was a very fast turnaround for Safer Schools and Community Grant. It will allow us to procure additional equipment and technology to support school security. So we were very pleased to find out in July that we received $36,400 in support of that. Very quick turnaround, so we are moving right now because you can see that the grant is wrapped up by December 31st. So they're looking for some fast action. While I don't know this at all, I do think that the support of the initial project last year put us really in a good place. Sometimes grants, you never know, are they looking to capture folks who haven't done anything? Or are they looking to say, we're gonna reward those folks who kind of got ahead, did their own? You never know with a grant, so I'm pleased. It was actually a little surprised, but very pleased that we received that. And then a reminder that we still have a vacancy on the Sturbridge, for a Sturbridge seat through the end of this term, which would end before the next Sturbridge election in April. So there will be a joint appointment meeting October 7th between the school committee, remaining Sturbridge school committee folks. But just wanted to update people because we did thank Susan for her time that she has moved out of state. And that is it.
Great. Any questions for the superintendent? Okay. Quick scheduling item that I want to put before you. We are scheduled to meet November 19th. That is our one of two joint meetings for the year. Is there any objection to that joint meeting and then also doing our Tantasqua meeting the evening before, which is Monday the 18th? Does anyone have an objection to that?
No objection, but I'll be late because I'm
What was it, the?
18th.
Rather than meet on the 19th, meet on the 18th, the day before. We will not have a meeting on the 19th.
Oh, okay.
We would do our joint meeting and our Tantasqua meeting both on the 18th.
Oh.
Sorry, you can't do that.
Is there any overwhelming issue with that?
November meeting, not on Tuesday, every Tuesday, not on Monday.
Correct. Not on Tuesday, have it on Monday, just for that 1 month only.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to make either meeting.
You can't make either one?
Yeah, the earlier, the later one.
Okay, so you, okay. Okay, all right. Great, thank you. All right, public access 2. All right, no unfinished business. We will move to new business, which for the most part is policy and bylaw stuff.
Yes, it is.
Mrs. Fitzgerald, how are you?
Great, how are you?
Been very busy, I see.
I've been very busy. Along with my colleagues, the bylaw and policy subcommittee met on August 19th. And picked up where we left off last year. You may recall that we started last spring a process of review whereby we're going through each and every one of our policies, starting literally with policy A. But the only policies that we're going to bring before you are those which actually require action by this body. There will be others that are reviewed, require no changes, and will not become before this body. So today we have, 7 that do require your action. Given the number, we'll take them each individually, starting with policy BDG, school attorney. The subcommittee recommends that policy BDG be approved an amended first reading. And as you can see, the changes here relate primarily to formatting and pronouns. There are only 2 substantive changes. The first basically changed the policy to allow for the appointment of a singular attorney to that of a full law firm. And the other change was to put the decision regarding selection of an attorney in the hands not just of the school committee, but also in the hands of the superintendent. Those are the only two substantive changes, and for that reason, we ask that you approve it on amended first reading.
Bring that to the floor for discussion. It doesn't require a second. Recommendation of the subcommittee. Is there discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Abstentions? Motion carries. EEC.
All right, EEC, executive sessions, also on amended first reading. Again, you'll see changes to pronouns, and the addition of some language from the recommended MASC policy, and the deletion of some unnecessary language in paragraph 9 from our existing policy. Again, nothing of great substance, but it's a little more streamlined, a little more direct, and we ask that you approve it.
Bring that to the floor for discussion. Is there any? Seeing none, the chair will call for a vote. All those in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Abstentions? Motion carries. EEDA.
EEDA, notification of school committee meetings. Simple additions for clarity, as recommended by MASC. You can see we added in explicitly that Saturdays, Sundays, and legal holidays are excluded from the 48-hour notice provision. And we added some clarity regarding the 48-hour notice required or allowed for posting an agenda. That's it. We'll ask for that approved.
Bring that to the floor. Discussion. All those in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed will say nay. Abstentions? Motion carries.
Point of order.
Yes.
Mike, I just wonder if maybe it's a little bit of education in some things that we picked up from MASC workshops. In regional school districts, technically or legally, as long as the regional school district posts that your meeting 48 hours prior to the meeting on their bulletin board or their official place of notice, that's all that's legally needed. They encourage you to also send it to your local town clerks for posting as well.
Which we do.
But it's, we do that, but it's not a requirement. So if ever there's an instance, and as I say, I present this as education, if ever there's an instance that where it accidentally does not get posted in a local town, as long as it's posted on the regional school district's official site, then it is a legally sanctioned meeting.
It's great education because select board members don't always understand that and often have to be educated on that. Okay. EEDH.
Public participation at school committee meetings. This particular policy is a response to a recent Superior Court decision which gave some clarity regarding what school committees can curtail as far as public comment. And basically the difference comes down to complaints made during public access, let's say, about school operations and programs versus complaints about staff and students. And in our existing policy, our old policy, similar to most others, that distinction is not very clear. So this policy and the language that we've added literally comes almost directly from the lower court decision at the recommendation of a law firm which specializes in education law to avoid any problems in the future with that distinction between what is permissible public comment and what is not. And you can see primarily those matters are addressed in paragraph 3 and paragraph 5.1 in terms of what we've chosen to remove and what we are continue to permit.
Yeah, so Michelle, this is one I didn't follow. So, number 3, for instance.
Right.
All remarks will be addressed through the chair. Always is.
Yeah.
Should that be edited too, to say chair as opposed to chairperson, since we are to be consistent with our other?
Well, I don't understand why we're doing that, but I'm not going there.
Consistency.
It's consistent in
So-
over the policies, that's all.
So, all remarks will be addressed through the chair of the meeting. But you've removed the call out of the specific things that the chair should be enforcing. So what's the intent behind the removal of that? I don't understand.
Because in the lower court decision, it specifically addressed this language, improper conduct and remarks will not be allowed. And that court held that that language is impermissible. It's vague in its application. So we go on, you will see in paragraph 4, to specify exactly what shall be permitted, which is objective criticisms of the school operations and programs as concern them. But in public session, the committee will not hear personal complaints of school personnel nor against any member of the school committee. And then the recommendation is that those particular complaints that may be against school personnel or members of the school committee are best left through administrative channels. So that language about improper conduct and remarks not being allowed was stricken by the lower court as being unnecessarily or impermissibly vague in terms of what it allows and what it doesn't. The public certainly can come and express concerns, but as far as what is improper conduct and remarks, the only permissible language according to that court is paragraph 4. I've actually got a copy of the case.
But actually, that's not true. The public cannot come to a meeting, and they are not entitled to speak if you don't have a process like we do, which permits them that opportunity. Public meetings are public hearings.
Absolutely.
Nobody is entitled to speak that isn't a voting member of this committee.
Absolutely.
We permit them an opportunity.
And once we permit them that opportunity,
Right.
there has to be a distinction made between comments about school operations and curriculum and programs versus comments about staff and students and personnel. And that's what we're trying to do.
I just want to be really clear, because we had an incident a number of years ago with French history.
Yep.
That created some challenges.
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure that we're clear. I mean, it really, honestly, this was almost irrelevant. The chair, under Robert's rules, has a responsibility to manage the conversation and make sure inappropriate things aren't said. But if we're gonna call it out the way we are here, I just don't want it to appear as if this is an opportunity to come in and just,
Oh, absolutely.
Well,
But
you know what?
the court held that by using those words, you know, improper and abusive remarks, the attitude by the lower court is that those are not narrowly tailored to affect the school committee's purpose, all right? And the language in 4 is trying to be more narrowly tailored to exactly what is within this committee's jurisdiction. So we can only hear comment and accept comment on those matters within our jurisdiction. We are not properly here, it's not proper for us to hear comments beyond our jurisdiction or those that properly fall within the purview of the superintendent and our administration.
Correct.
That's what this policy is intended to address.
And then that language actually is exactly, we had MASC's policy, and the updated policy at the legal, the strong legal suggestion was specifically that language to strike the end of 3. That was the issue, really the crux of the legal case, where, you know, it was, and as soon as we put public hearing on our agenda, we give the public a right to speak.
right, we only do that once, we only do that once a year.
No, public
No,
access.
I'm sorry, public access, I'm so sorry,
Very
public
different-
access.
Two very different
No,
things.
sorry, this is public access.
You can regulate public access.
But
You can't regulate a public hearing.
You can regulate what, that they can speak to things that are under your jurisdiction, but some of this language is implying you can't have a contentious person you can, the topic can't be adversarial and contentious, and that is exactly what the issue was, that the court said, no, you can't uphold that
And the-
language, that needs to go.
The problem with that phrase about improper and abusive remarks is because the First Amendment only allows for the prohibition of fighting words or threats. All right, so that using those words improper and abusive remarks goes well beyond the prohibition prescribed by the First Amendment. And that's where the court had a problem with that language and specifically struck that. And those very words were in our prior policy. So if we're gonna allow public access, we just have to be very clear.
Well, I think that's the point, right?
Right. If we're gonna allow public access,
If
we have to be
going
very
forward, that's abused,
Right.
there's a very simple removal of it, and it doesn't exist. I mean, that would be the result.
Right.
I just caution, if my recollection is right, correct, that this was not only, the revision was not only encouraged by MASC, but I think we also received bulletins from a couple law firms encouraging school districts to take or respond immediately to that court decision.
This was a Massachusetts case.
Yeah. And it's already been cited by other cases, so it does seem to be the way of the future.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Further discussion?
Through you, Mike, I think what we have to always remember is that what we're offering the public is access to voice their concern, and it is not an open meeting. It's not a public open meeting.
Well, it's a public open meeting, it's not a public hearing.
That's what I meant, public hearing. So that's the difference. And so if they want to make a comment, they can. But we don't have to go into discussion.
Well, and in fact, we wouldn't.
We can shut them
Right?
down.
You know, public access means someone can stand up for 2 minutes and say something.
Right.
If it's
3 minutes, according to
is
this.
it 3 minutes?
Yeah.
They give them more time than a committee member?
But let's be clear, if those comments cross beyond our jurisdiction into comments about individuals, students, staff, or personnel, then it is our responsibility to shut that comment down.
Which is, yes.
Right.
We
Yeah.
haven't had this problem.
No.
I don't anticipate we will. It's just when all of a sudden you make a policy change like this, it could potentially open up Pandora's box, and I just want to be cautious, so I don't know, maybe just on this one.
I know Pandora, don't worry.
Further discussion?
I would say, Mr. Chairman, that in fact, I think this actually gives us far more clarity as far as what is permissible and what is not than our prior policy.
Yeah,
You know, when we added, number 5 is we added.
I need to read it against the old one.
Right.
And I know that's technically here, but it's not.
Right.
Yes, I understand. That's very necessary, I'm sure. Further discussion on this? All those in favor on first reading will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Abstentions? Motion carries.
All right. Next, we have policy IHBG, homeschooling. And you can see the addition here really is in numbered paragraph 4 in boldface. And that language, what that language does is, this policy lays forth for the superintendent essentially the requirements when one is homeschooled. I think in our district we have anywhere from 70 to 90 students who may be subject to this policy. And the addition of the language in boldface essentially gives the superintendent a myriad of assessments that she can consider in addition to standardized testing to determine whether or not a homeschool program actually meets state standards.
Which we currently do.
You do anyway.
But absolutely, this is just.
Simply codifying what our superintendent already does.
Yeah.
I recommend it be accepted, amended first reading.
You have the authority to reject what's proposed.
Right, and we just love to work with the families and do what is the best
Yep.
for them.
Good. Bring it to the floor. All those in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Abstentions? All right.
All right.
IJND.
Access to digital resources. This is a brand-new policy recommended by MESC. And we are suggesting that it replace our existing policy, IJNBD. You'll see that the policy includes not only policy about digital resources, but a form which students will sign related to that policy. It's cleaner, more streamlined, and addresses some changes in technology that our existing policy does not. So rather than try and marry these policies, it seems best to simply rescind one and adopt the other.
Bring that to the floor, discussion. All those in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, motion carries. All right.
Now, I suppose we need a separate vote on IJNDB, the acceptable electronic network use policy. It's the recommendation of the subcommittee that that policy be rescinded in favor of the policy we just adopted.
Bring that to the floor for the discussion. All those in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Abstentions? Motion carries.
We will be meeting again on Thursday, the 19th.
Change more chairpersons.
Jump in.
So am I an object now, not a person? Is that the intent of this?
We've always known that, Mr. Valentine.
Oh.
Trying to pick one and they don't.
All right, so we will move to our final item for new business, which will be subcommittee assignments and caucuses. Folks, I want to try to get you out of here at a reasonable time, so let's do this pretty quickly. We will do what we've normally done in the past. I'll just send folks to different parts of the room. I'll give like 5 minutes, choose your chairs quickly, and then we'll do the second half. And if you are called out for a subcommittee at the same time twice, just try to bounce between the two. Okay? Okay? All right, so let's have building and physical plant come up front here. Curriculum, go in the back by the blue booths. And technical, you can go over in the corner by all the tables.
What did you say? I'm sorry.
Building and physical plant up here. Curriculum in the back, blue booths. Technical in the back by all the tables and computers. 5 minutes. Quick quorum. We have a motion to adjourn. Is there a second? Made and seconded. All those in favor will say aye. Aye. Opposed? It's not debatable. We're done. Thank you. Oh, just a quick recap. Subcommittees, curriculum, Pat Barnacle, technical, Sue Waters, bylaw and policy, Michelle Fitzgerald, budget, Sheila Noyes-Miller, negotiation, Christine Randall, building and physical plant, Kristen Leo. And that's it.